The mysterious abandoned village in Queensland. When my car skidded to a stop beside a small rocky hill, twilight was falling. The last rays of sunlight slanted through the weathered trees, casting a golden hue over the withered grass. The endless chirping of crickets and the creaking groans of dry ironbark trees filled the wild Queensland air, prickling my skin. I was on a motoring trip across Australia, deliberately seeking out forgotten paths and abandoned villages, far from the usual tourist routes. On the map, only a faint smudge remained, a tiny dot amidst a sea of red earth. The dry scent of dust mingled with the musty dampness of decay, creeping into my nostrils. My hair and clothes clung with fine dust. The air was dry and suffocating, as though trapping every breath. The gravel road into the village was scattered with broken stones, bearing the heavy imprint of time. The wooden houses leaned precariously, red tiled roofs faded and cracked. Empty window frames gaped like the hollow eyes of the dead. I ventured deeper, hesitation gnawing at my gut. The village lacked any sound of life. No roosters crowing, no dogs barking. Only the whistling wind rattling through rotted beams, moaning like distant wails. At the village center stood a large house, remarkably intact. Its window frames were still whole, the roof barely sagging. Something unseen drew me toward it. I placed my hand on the doorknob. It was ice cold, like touching frost. As I pushed the door open, a rush of frigid air struck my face, heavy with the stench of mold and decayed flesh. Inside, the furnishings remained untouched. The dining table was set, as if the occupants had only just risen and left. A tattered teddy bear lay sprawled under a chair. A grandfather clock on the wall swung its pendulum silently. At the far end of the room, a large mirror covered in dust reflected my image. But behind my shoulder, the faint silhouette of a child. I spun around. Nothing. The staircase creaked under my steps as I climbed to the mezzanine. The room above was blanketed in dust, yet the bedspread was smooth and unwrinkled. An open book lay atop the mattress, its pages yellowed with age. A sudden gust threw the window open, slamming it against the wall. The loud bang was followed by soft whispers, barely audible, curling around me. I hurried downstairs and stepped outside. As my foot touched the ground, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew thick, oppressive. The houses around the village now glowed dimly from within. Through the half-drawn curtains, I glimpsed shadowy figures moving silently. I followed the gravel path, desperate to escape. But with each step, the exit seemed to stretch farther away. The houses repeated themselves endlessly. The car I had left behind, gone. A lullaby drifted through the heavy air. Sleep, sleep tight. The night is long. I looked around, but there was only darkness. Then, for a moment, I saw them. Faceless children standing around me, their invisible gazes pinning me in place. I bolted in terror, racing down narrow alleys, past doorways gaping like hungry mouths. Crumbling walls seemed to lean closer, trying to engulf me. I crashed through a door and stumbled into a classroom. A blackboard thick with dust. Tiny desks and chairs arranged in perfect order. On the teacher's desk lay a notebook, its scrawled handwriting trembling. "We cannot leave. The village has chosen." The last page was stained with dark, dried blood. Shivering, I grabbed the notebook, but it crumbled to ash in my hands. Staggering out, I saw the village had changed. New houses sprouted from the void. The roads twisted into a labyrinth. The sky above was pitch black, devoid of stars. I turned and ran, but every path led me back to the central square. There, A man in a wide-brimmed hat was waiting. His face was hidden in shadow. His voice rasped, dry and hollow. "Welcome! You have been chosen." He handed me an old iron key, chillingly cold. "You are the new keeper." Before I could react, the ground beneath my feet cracked open and gray hands dragged me under. I struggled, but it was futile. The earth swallowed me whole. When I opened my eyes, I found myself standing amid the village. But I was no longer myself. I could feel every stone, every door, every gust of wind. I had become part of the village, and I waited. Under the silver moonlight, a new car approached. Its headlights cut through the thick mist. Tires churned the cracked earth. A stranger stepped out, shielding their eyes against the fierce wind. I smiled, a smile without form. "Welcome, lost traveler." In the endless darkness of Queensland, a soft, eerie laughter rose once more, blending into the wind, into the dust, never fading away.